Ma'am, this is an ATM, not a charity booth, the man sneered, folding his arms as the frail woman hesitantly touched the screen. People in line snickered as she whispered, Can, can I see my balance, please? Her voice trembled, barely audible. The man behind her, early 40s, designer jacket, expensive sneakers, the type who flaunted money he didn't have, leaned in louder so everyone could hear him mock her. What? You checking if your $5 grew overnight? Move faster. But the moment the ATM beeped and the numbers appeared, his smug grin cracked, then collapsed entirely. The mocking died instantly, because everyone saw it. The long string of digits, the balance no one expected her to have. 2 hours earlier, no one staring at the trembling woman would have imagined she held more wealth in her bank account than the entire line combined. Evelyn Carter, 67, small-framed, with silver hair pulled neatly into a bun and thin glasses sliding down her nose, stood in her cardigan that had clearly been mended more than once. She carried a faded floral purse and moved with the careful steps of someone who had spent a lifetime shrinking herself so no one would be bothered by her presence. She looked like someone people ignored, someone easy to dismiss, which was exactly why Travis, the man behind her, chose her as his target the moment she stepped up to the ATM. The grocery store was unusually packed that afternoon, every lane overflowing, and the ATM beside the customer service counter had a line stretching halfway down the aisle. Evelyn didn't want to be a burden. She stood patiently, clutching a small bag of oranges, the only thing she needed. She had promised her late husband she'd keep making his favorite orange loaf on Sundays, even if it was only for herself now. When it was finally her turn at the ATM, she pressed the button slowly, making sure she didn't hit the wrong ones. Travis groaned loudly behind her. "Lady, my time's worth more than your whole pension. Can you move it along?" People chuckled. A few shook their heads with amusement, as if mocking an elderly woman was entertainment. Evelyn flinched, but whispered, I'm sorry? I just need to see my balance." That's when Travis delivered the line that sparked the laughter. "Your balance? What balance? You expecting Social Security to suddenly love you today?" He didn't know her story. No one did. She had been a school janitor for 38 years. Her husband, Leonard, worked as a mechanic until the cancer took him. They lived simply. No luxuries, no vacations. She saved every spare dollar, not for herself, but because she had always believed life could change suddenly, and she wanted to be prepared. But then, 3 years earlier, Evelyn had received a letter her husband wrote before he died. Inside it was a key, and a note that said, "For the life you deserve, not the one you settled for." The key opened a safety deposit box containing documents from a land deal he'd made quietly decades earlier. He never told her because he didn't want her to worry if it failed, but it didn't fail. The land had been bought by a developer, and her quiet, humble husband had left her millions. But Evelyn never changed her lifestyle. She didn't buy a new car, didn't move homes, didn't start wearing expensive clothes. She didn't believe money made anyone better or more important. She stayed exactly who she was, gentle, quiet, and kind. That day at the ATM, she wasn't checking her balance for herself. She planned to give money anonymously to a struggling family she'd heard about from her church, a single mother with 3 children about to be evicted. She just wanted to transfer enough to save them, but she needed to confirm the exact amount first so she wouldn't accidentally overdraft her savings account. And that's when it happened. The ATM beeped loudly. The screen brightened, and her balance appeared in giant numbers she didn't expect the people behind her to see. But they did. Everyone did. $4,287,550.16. The man who mocked her froze like someone had ripped the sound from his throat. His face drained of color. People behind him stared in disbelief. No one laughed now. Even the customer service employee leaned over the counter in shock. Evelyn blinked behind her glasses, adjusting them gently. She never flaunted her money, never even talked about it. She whispered softly, "Oh, dear, that's more than I remembered." Travis stumbled backward, nearly tripping over a display of cereal boxes. "Ma'am, I didn't know. I'm sorry. The words tangled in his throat. His ego, so loud moments ago, crumbled into dust. The other people in line looked embarrassed for having laughed along with him. Evelyn turned, her eyes warm and unbothered. "Young man," she said with a small, gentle smile, "money never made anyone better than anyone else. Kindness does." Her voice wasn't sharp or angry. It was soft, sincere, motherly, which somehow made it hit harder. He nodded, ashamed, unable to look her in the eye. She tucked her receipt into her floral purse, picked up her small bag of oranges, and stepped aside. But before leaving, she paused, turned back, and said quietly, "I hope your day gets kinder." People in line stepped back to give her space, as if she were royalty passing through the aisle. But she didn't notice. She never walked like someone who owned millions. She walked like someone who had lived her life, giving more than she ever received. Later that evening, while the store buzzed with gossip about the millionaire grandma who humbled a whole line of shoppers, Evelyn sat at her kitchen table, transferring money to the struggling single mother's account. No name attached, no credit needed, just the same quiet love she'd lived her whole life with. Meanwhile, Travis sat in his car, replaying the scene, realizing that the richest person he'd ever insulted was also the kindest, and that maybe, just maybe, he'd change how he treated people from that day on. Because sometimes, the people who seem to have the least carry more wealth than anyone can measure.